Welcome, my fellow night thinkers. This is Sleepywise, a cozy corner of the internet where restless thoughts slow down and the quiet mysteries of everyday life unravel at their own pace. I know you've had a long day and you deserve a moment of stillness now. Just allow your eyes to grow heavy and let yourself settle into the gentle rhythm of the night. You've made it here, to this moment, this particular quiet that's been sitting here waiting without any rush at all. Whatever the day was, the noise of it, the movement, all those small decisions that kept asking things of you, all of that is already starting to lose its edges a little. And here, in this space, there's something that's always been here. Something that doesn't need anything from you. Something that just keeps going, the way it keeps going for everyone, everywhere, who has ever finally let a long day go. Feel, if you can, the surface beneath you. The mattress, the pillow, the soft, settled weight of a blanket pulled in close. There's warmth there, isn't there? The kind that builds on its own, the way a mug of something warm slowly heats your palms before you've even had a sip. Just rest into that. Let it be enough. Nothing needs to be figured out right now. Nothing needs to be figured out at all. What you're feeling, that gentle pressing weight of your own body, has a name, though the name hardly seems to matter here. It's gravity. And it's one of the oldest things there is. Older than the oceans, older than the mountains, older than this planet. Long before there were beds or blankets or quiet rooms like this one, before any of the slow, patient landscape of this world had come to be, gravity was already doing what it does. Gathering loose clouds of gas and dust that were drifting through early space, drawing them gently, patiently, toward each other. Over such a long stretch of time, it's almost impossible to hold in your head millions of years of quiet accumulation. Those clouds became the earth you're lying on right now. A whole planet, just from the simple, unhurried business of pulling things together. And it's strange, in a way, that this same force, the one that shaped continents and carved out ocean floors, is the very thing pressing you softly into your mattress tonight. Not dramatically, not all at once, just steadily. The way a hand rests on your shoulder, patient and continuous, not asking anything. The same quiet hand that's always been there for everyone who has ever settled onto this surface. There's something else about gravity that I find myself returning to. You never actually feel it directly. What you feel is the mattress pushing back, the gentle resistance of something that won't give way. Gravity itself stays untouchable, unfelt in any real direct sense, only ever known through the things that push against it. The most constant thing in everyday life, and yet the body never quite makes contact with it, always just beneath sensation, always one layer away. And the pull isn't even perfectly even across the planet. The Earth bulges just slightly at its middle, flattened almost imperceptibly toward the poles, so gravity shifts a little depending on where you happen to be lying down. Someone settling into sleep near the equator is held, just fractionally, more loosely than someone resting closer to the poles. Not enough to feel, not enough to notice, but real, quietly, in the patient arithmetic of a planet that holds everyone just a little differently. Your body is beginning to understand this in its own way. Somewhere below thinking, The muscles that spend all day holding you upright are slowly, very slowly, letting go of that job. Shoulders soften a little. The jaw maybe unclenches just a fraction. The chest opens almost on its own, as if it had been waiting all day for this exact permission. There's something familiar in that feeling. Being let down gently after a long time of holding on. It feels, in some quiet way, like the most human thing there is. Somewhere outside, the night is cooling, the dark is deepening, and the first few stars are appearing above whatever sky is above you right now. Each one, its own enormous gathering of matter, drawn together by the same quiet force that is, very gently, pressing you toward rest. You are part of something very old tonight. The planet beneath you is patient. It has always been patient. There's something worth settling into here in the quiet before sleep arrives properly. Not a thought that asks anything of you, just a gentle kind of noticing. The kind that only needs you to stay still and let the idea come to you, the way warmth drifts from a cup of tea left on a bedside table, softly, without insisting, without needing to go anywhere in particular. You're not alone in this room, actually. Not in any unsettling way, quite the opposite. Every object around you, the blanket, the walls, the floor, the air itself, is in a kind of conversation with every other object. A slow, patient, invisible exchange that's been going on since the earliest moments of everything, and which continues without interruption even now, even in all this stillness. Everyone resting tonight in every quiet room is held inside this same conversation without trying, without knowing, simply by being here. It's interesting to sit with the idea that gravity isn't something the Earth does to you alone. It's something every piece of matter does to every other piece of matter. Always, everywhere, all at once. Your body, right now, is gently pulling on the walls of this room, and the walls are gently pulling back. The pillow beneath your head and the farthest mountain range on the other side of the world are, in some incredibly small and genuinely real way, drawing toward each other. Not enough to feel, not enough to measure without extraordinary instruments, but real all the same. A whisper of attraction moving quietly between all things, between you and everything else. And there's something quieter still, folded inside all of this. When very large masses shift, when earthquakes move enormous slabs of rock, or stars collapse somewhere at the far edges of the galaxy, they send ripples through the fabric of space itself. Not sound, not light, but something else entirely. Distortions in the shape of space, spreading outward in every direction, passing through everything, through walls, through blankets, through the body resting beneath them, without resistance, without even pausing. They're probably moving through you right now, gently, imperceptibly, leaving everything exactly as they found it. Nothing needs to be understood quickly here. Just let it settle, the way the room itself has settled into this hour. Think of it as a conversation in a language older than sound. Every mountain is part of it, every ocean, every pocket of air drifting through a window left slightly open, every grain of sand on a shore you've never seen, every cloud gathering itself quietly over some sleeping city far from here. All of them sending this same wordless signal. And the message is always the same. I am here you are there, come very slightly closer. There's something familiar in that, maybe. That quiet pull toward rest, toward gathering. It's what the blanket does, drawing warmth slowly inward. It's what the evening does, drawing the day gently to a close. The reason you feel the earth's pull so much more than the pull of the wall beside you is just a matter of scale. The earth is so vastly, so enormously massive that its voice in this conversation simply rises above all the others. And so your body responds to it most clearly, sinking into the mattress, bones settling gently downward, breath dropping into the chest. But somewhere underneath that dominant pull, the quieter exchanges keep going, uninterrupted and patient, including the ones between you and things you'll never see. There's something almost tender in this when you stay with it long enough. The idea that nothing in the universe is truly separate, that the atoms in your hands and the atoms in the rings of distant planets are, in the most literal sense, science has, present to one another, not conscious, not deliberate, but connected. What if that feeling of being held, that quiet weight across your shoulders, your hips, the backs of your legs, isn't only the earth? What if it's everything, all at once, leaning gently toward you in the dark? Every breath, every exhale, a small returning, every inhale, a small receiving. You don't have to do anything with that. Just let it be something you're already part of. Let your eyes close if they haven't already. And just feel for a moment the weight of the blanket across you. The way it drapes and settles, the way it doesn't push back against your shape but follows it, dipping softly where your shoulders rise, pooling gently along the edges of your arms. There's a real comfort in that, in being something a surface is willing to arrange itself around, in being something that leaves an impression just by being present. Hold that image loosely, the blanket, and the way it yields. Because there's something in the structure of the universe that behaves a little like this. And when scientists try to describe it, they reach for almost exactly this kind of image. A fabric, soft and extraordinary, stretching across everything in every direction, through all of space and all of time at once. Not a fabric you could actually touch or fold or hold between your fingers, something more fundamental than that. But the image is honest enough to rest inside without needing to be taken apart. Imagine that blanket, enormous and perfectly smooth, held flat in every direction. And then imagine placing something heavy at its center, a dense, dark ball settling slowly into the middle. Watch, in your mind, what happens. The blanket dips, it curves, it doesn't tear or resist, it just responds the way soft things respond to weight. It reshapes itself around that presence, creating a slow, smooth bowl, extending outward in every direction, growing flatter and flatter the further it gets from the center. This is, in a way that's quietly accurate, what the Earth does to the space around it. What every massive object does, and what, in some almost imperceptible sense, everything does, including the body resting here, leaving its own infinitesimally small impression in the fabric of the universe. the same way it leaves a gentle impression in the mattress beneath it. There's something about that image that feels recognizable somehow. The impression left simply by being present. The fabric adjusting without effort around whatever settles into it. Not a blanket, of course, but something called space-time, the invisible fabric of reality itself, woven from dimensions of space and time, bound together into something that can flex and curve in response to mass. And when things move, when rivers run toward the sea, when planets trace their long paths around stars, they're just following the shape of that curve, rolling along the slope that heavier objects create simply by being there. There's something else that happens when a massive object not only sits inside this fabric, but slowly turns within it. The Earth rotates quietly and continuously, and as it does, it draws the space-time immediately around it into a very faint rotation of its own. Space itself, in the region closest to the surface, gently stirred by the planet's turning. Like honey slowly twisted by something moving through it. A planet so present, so patient, that even the fabric of space turns softly with it. And you, resting here, are turning with it too, without any sense of motion at all. What if the feeling of sinking into a mattress and the shape of the cosmos are, in some deeply honest way, the same thing? Not metaphor exactly, something closer to echo, the way warmth lingers in a room long after the source of it has gone. Outside, the night holds all its objects in their slow, curving paths. The moon following its long, graceful arc around the earth tracing its own patient loop around the sun. Each one resting in the curve the other has made, like two bodies settling under a shared blanket, adjusting to each other's shape without effort or thought. The universe is soft enough to curve. It yields, it makes room. And you're resting inside a shape the earth made, in a fabric that has been quietly arranging itself around every piece of matter, including this one, since the very beginning of time. Let that hold you, gently, for a while. Stay here for a moment in the warmth of this. There's no need to move, no need to follow anything too closely. Just let the next thought come the way steam rises from something warm, slowly, without direction, drifting softly into the quiet air of the room. Here is something that science has found, and that feels, at first, almost impossible to sit with. Gravity. This vast, patient force that keeps oceans in their basins, that holds the moon in its long arc overhead, that has been pressing you gently into your bed all evening is, by every measure physicists have, the weakest force in nature. Not slightly weak. Extraordinarily weak. The gentlest, most delicate of all, the fundamental forces that hold the universe together in their different ways. Let that settle without needing to go anywhere. Think of a small magnet, the kind you might find pressed against a refrigerator door, holding something ordinary in place, a note maybe, something written and left for later. And think of a paperclip, light and slight and almost nothing, resting on a surface beneath it. When that magnet lifts the paperclip, something quietly astonishing is happening. The magnetism of that small, cool object is overcoming the gravitational pull of the entire Earth. Every particle of rock and iron and dense ancient matter gathered across this whole vast planet, all of it pulling downward, and a small magnet wins. Effortlessly, without any drama at all. It's interesting to sit with what that means held lightly. It means that the force arranging the stars, shaping galaxies, holding atmosphere gently to planets, all of that grandeur is built from something extraordinarily, almost tenderly, faint. Gravity isn't powerful because it's strong. It's powerful because it's patient, because it never stops, because it accumulates slowly and without interruption, the way warmth accumulates beneath a blanket over a long, still night. The same warmth that's been quietly gathering around you here all this time. Each individual particle of matter has only the faintest gravitational presence. A whisper beneath a whisper. But when enough of them gather, when stone settles upon stone, layer upon quiet layer, until you have a moon, a planet, a sun, those whispers start to add together. Slowly, consistently, until the combined voice of countless gentle things becomes something the body can actually feel. Something everyone, everywhere feels without ever thinking about it. There's something else folded quietly inside this, worth letting drift past. Gravity travels. It crosses distance. And as best as scientists understand it, gravitational influence moves at the speed of light. Which means the pull you feel from the moon tonight left the moon just over a second ago. What holds the tides in their long, slow rhythm isn't the moon as it is right now, but the moon as it was a moment before, a message from the very recent past, arriving continuously, never quite the present and yet utterly, gently real. There's something familiar about that, maybe. The way warmth from an earlier hour lingers on into the night, the way quiet moments from the day carry themselves forward into rest. What if every force that feels enormous is, underneath it all, made of things this gentle? What if scale is just where patience goes, given enough time? Nothing needs to be understood quickly. Just the feeling of it, this chorus of whispers gathered into something felt by everyone who has ever rested on this planet. Outside, the stars are out, each one its own slow accumulation of matter, pressing quietly inward on itself with that same faint, persistent pull. Each one a gathering of whispers that, given enough time, became a light just barely visible from here, from this warm room, from this particular stillness you share tonight with everyone else who has let the day go. The blanket is warm and the room is quiet. The weakest force in the universe has, tonight, very gently won. And you are resting, willingly, inside that patient collective hold. Let the breath come slowly now. There's no hurry here. There's never been any hurry here. And that, as it turns out, is something the universe takes quite literally, because time, that most familiar and invisible of companions, doesn't move the same way everywhere. It never has. And yet everyone moving through an evening like this one has felt, in their own way, the sense of it beginning to soften and slow. Stay with that gently. Don't try to hold it too tightly. You already know in the way the body knows things, that some moments feel longer than others. That a quiet evening beside something warm, a fire, a cup of tea cooling slowly on the table nearby, can feel as though it stretches softly outward, while other moments, full of noise and urgency, seem to compress and rush past before anything can be properly felt. The mind puts that down to mood or attention. But physics, in its patient, careful way, finds something stranger and honestly more beautiful. Time itself moves differently depending on where you are, not as metaphor, but as something measurable and ordinary. Clocks closer to the surface of a massive object, closer to the earth, closer to all that quietly accumulated gravity, tick very slightly more slowly than clocks held high above it. The difference is extraordinarily small, far too small for any human sense to pick up directly, but real enough that satellites drifting far above the atmosphere have to account for it, have to correct for it. Because up there, away from the pull, time moves just a fraction faster. And down here, close to the surface, close to the dense, patient presence of all this gathered mass, time breathes a little more slowly. It's interesting to notice what that means, held very gently, without pressing it toward any conclusion. Every person resting near the Earth's surface tonight, every body settled into warmth, every mind releasing its hold on the day, is moving through time at exactly this pace. The same gentle slowing, the same quiet influence of all that mass underneath. A shared rhythm, invisible and continuous, that nobody chose and everyone is part of. The same force pressing your body softly into the mattress, the same quiet accumulation that holds the oceans and tilts the seasons, is also, in its way, touching time, bending it, the way it bends the fabric of space, asking it to slow just slightly in the presence of so much gathered matter. There's something else here, resting just underneath this idea. The body keeps its own kind of time, not with instruments but with light and rhythm. Cells throughout the body carry something like an internal clock, sensitive to the slow cycling of day into night, adjusting quietly to the turning of the earth. Something every living body does without being told, without being aware. And some researchers have wondered, in the careful, tentative way that science wonders about things it doesn't yet fully understand, whether these biological rhythms might carry some faint sensitivity to the physical texture of time around them. Nothing confirmed, nothing resolved, just a question left open, the way a window is left open on a mild evening, not asking for anything, just allowing. There's something I recognize in that quality of wondering, of leaving a question at the edge of thought without needing it to become anything. Time and gravity woven together, part of the same deep structure, the same soft fabric that curves around mass and shapes the path of light and planets and, it turns out, the quiet passage of every moment. Einstein described the relationship between gravity and time as inseparable. Space and time not as separate things, but dimensions of the same thing. The Earth's presence in that fabric keeps the atmosphere close. It gives weight to snow falling outside a winter window, to warm bread on a kitchen table, to the blanket here across you now. and it draws time downward very gently, asking it to linger close to the surface of things, here, in this room, in this breath. There is nowhere to be, only this moment, held softly by everything beneath you. Let the mind wander just a little. Not far, just outward, very slowly, the way breath drifts when everything is quiet and there's nothing left that needs doing. Out past the ceiling, past the night sky, where the air grows thin and then gives out entirely into the extraordinary, uninterrupted stillness of open space. There's a story happening out there, and it's always been happening. The thing worth letting arrive gently, without rushing it and without needing to grasp it, is that it's made of exactly the same quiet patience that's holding you here in this warmth tonight. The same patience that holds everyone resting on this surface, in every room, under every sky. Long before this planet existed, before any planet existed anywhere in this part of space, there was a cloud. Not a cloud you'd recognize, not the soft, slow-moving kind that drifts across a summer sky. Something vastly larger and thinner and cooler, a great loose gathering of gas and dust drifting in the dark. Hydrogen mostly, a little helium, traces of other things. The raw, unhurried material of everything that would eventually come, including, in time, the warmth of this room and the weight of this blanket. And into that cloud, gravity began to speak. Slowly, incredibly slowly, the way warmth builds in a room where a fire has been left burning low, not quickly enough to notice in any single moment, but steadily and without interruption across stretches of time that have no comfortable human name. Particles that had been drifting apart began almost imperceptibly to drift together instead. The cloud, drawn gently inward by its own accumulated presence, began to gather itself to find its center. There's something familiar about that movement, maybe. That slow gathering inward that happens each evening, the drift toward stillness, toward rest. Nothing needs to be followed too closely here, just the feeling of it, the long, unhurried sense of something immense taking its time. Dust gathered into grains, grains gathered into pebbles. And as those pebbles drifted and met in the slow choreography of early space, something quiet happened at their surfaces, a gentle adhesion where particles meeting at low speeds would sometimes simply stay, resting against one another, held by forces operating at the smallest scales, until enough had gathered for gravity to take over from there. Rocks became boulders. Boulders became something larger still, and slowly, across millions of years of quiet accumulation, something recognizable began to emerge. A world. It's interesting to notice that there's no urgency anywhere in this process. Gravity doesn't hurry, it doesn't force or insist, it just continues, leaning things toward one another across every distance, in every direction, for as long as it takes. The mountains, wherever you might imagine them tonight, were made this way. Not in any dramatic instant, but in the gradual settling pressure of matter falling toward matter over timescales too vast for ordinary thought to hold comfortably. And those mountains are still moving now, in the way things move when no single lifetime is long enough to notice, rising in some places, subsiding in others, ground quietly down by wind and water and time. The oceans filled their basins because the land curved downward, shaped by gravity into exactly the right hollows to receive them. Even the air you're breathing right now, that thin, warm layer of atmosphere wrapped gently around this planet, is gravity's doing, held close like something precious against the surface of the world. What if patience, taken far enough, becomes creation? What if the quietest forces, given enough time, build the most extraordinary things? Think of the blanket across you, its warmth accumulated gradually, degree by quiet degree, from your own body's slow heat. Things assembled gently over time tend to hold. Outside, somewhere beyond what any eye could reach, clouds of gas and dust are doing now what they've always done, leaning very slowly toward their own centers. Gravity is in no hurry. It never has been. And the world it built, this particular arrangement of rock and ocean and soft atmosphere and quiet rooms, has been waiting with extraordinary patience for exactly as long as it needed to. To arrive at tonight, at this warmth, this stillness, at you. Stay here, in the warmth of this. Let the breath come and go without any particular attention, and let the weight of the blanket settle further, a little more with each exhale. Let the next thought arrive, the way starlight arrives, having traveled an enormous distance, quietly, carrying something strange and worth receiving without needing to hold it too tightly. There are things in this universe that can't be seen. Not because they're hidden exactly, not because something is standing in front of them, but because they give off no light and reflect nothing. They pass through every instrument we've ever built without leaving a trace that eyes, or cameras, or ordinary observation can find. And yet, they're there. Science is fairly certain of this, not from seeing them, but from noticing their presence the way gravity tends to make things known, quietly and indirectly, through the shape of what bends around them. Let that arrive without needing to be resolved. Galaxies, those vast, slow-turning gatherings of stars and gas and ancient light, spin. They rotate the way water rotates when something stirs it gently and then keeps going long after the stirring has stopped. And for a long time, astronomers watching this spinning assumed it would behave the way spinning things behave when most of their mass sits at the center. The stars at the outer edges, they expected, would move more slowly, trailing the way the outermost planets in our own solar system take longer to complete their long, quiet journeys around the sun. But they don't. The outer stars of a galaxy move far faster than they should, faster than all the visible matter, every star, every cloud, every cluster of gas that can be seen and counted and measured could possibly hold together. If galaxies contained only what could be observed, they'd fly apart, the outer edges drifting away into the dark the way steam disperses above a cup left too long in a cooling room. And yet they hold together. Something is keeping them, something with mass and gravitational presence that can't be seen and can't be touched by light in any ordinary way. Scientists have called it dark matter, though the name is less a description than an honest admission. It's dark because it offers no light to find it by, and it's matter because it has mass. and mass shapes the world in ways that gravity eventually and patiently reveals. It's interesting to notice how much of reality makes itself known this way, not directly, but through its effect on the things surrounding it. The way you might sense warmth has been in a room not by seeing anything, but by how the air feels when you settle into it. The way certain presences are only known by what they leave behind. Dark matter may be everywhere, threading through galaxies like something woven into the structure of space itself. And it may be passing through this room right now, through the walls, through the blanket, through the body resting beneath it. Not interacting, not leaving any trace the body could register, just present, the way things can be genuinely physically real without ever announcing themselves. The same way the planet's gravity is real, felt but never quite touched. There's something familiar about that quality, of being held by something that makes no sound and asks for no acknowledgement. Some physicists have wondered whether dark matter occasionally interacts with ordinary matter through something so faint and infrequent that entire underground laboratories have been built in the deep quiet of old mines, cooled to near stillness, waiting patiently for a single confirmable signal. So far, mostly silence. The question stays open and unhurried, like all the most patient questions. Outside, the stars are turning in their slow galactic arcs, held in place by forces that science can measure but not yet fully name. The night above you is threaded through with something invisible and patient, stitching galaxies into shapes that would otherwise slowly come apart. And here, in this quiet room, you're held just as invisibly, just as certainly, the same way everyone resting beneath this sky is held, by forces felt but not entirely seen, by a weight that's yours without being a burden. Rest inside that, gently. You don't need to see a thing to be held by it. Come back now, very gently. Back to this room, this warmth, the particular softness of the surface beneath you, and the weight of the blanket that's been quietly holding its warmth against you all this time. Back to the sound, if there is one, of the night settling into itself outside, the way nights do when the world has finished its business and let everything slow gradually towards stillness. The way this night is doing right now for everyone resting inside it. You went a long way just now through galaxies and dust clouds and invisible matter and the slow, patient assembly of worlds. And yet you never moved at all. You were here the whole time, held in place, gently and without interruption, by the same quiet force that holds all of it together. Let that arrive softly. Gravity isn't something that happens at a distance and then stops. It's the shared language of all matter, everywhere, without exception, spoken by everything that exists and received by everything that exists, in one continuous, unbroken exchange that has never once paused since the earliest moments of the universe. The curve of space that holds the moon in its long arc around the Earth is the same curve, reduced to almost nothing, that holds the blanket against your shoulders. The attraction drawing galaxies toward one another across distances that light takes millions of years to cross is the same attraction, quieted almost to silence, drawing each warm breath back down into the chest. There's something familiar in that, maybe, The same patient leaning from the largest structures in existence all the way down to this quiet room, this particular moment, this breath. And yet the universe isn't simply falling together. At its largest scales, space itself is expanding, the vast distances between galaxy clusters growing slowly and continuously, as though the fabric of everything is being gently stretched from within. And that expansion seems to be accelerating, something pressing outward quietly against all that patient gravitational leaning. Scientists call it dark energy, though the name, like dark matter, is mostly an admission of how much remains genuinely unknown. A question sitting without resolution, the way certain thoughts drift through a tired mind late at night, present and unhurried and not yet ready to become anything certain. Think of it as an embrace. Not the kind that holds tightly or asks anything in return, but the kind that's simply there, constant and unhurried and requiring nothing. The kind of warmth that makes no demands, the kind you find at the end of a long day when something familiar surrounds you and the noise of everything finally, slowly loses its grip. There's something else worth letting pass through gently. The atoms making up the body resting here are themselves almost entirely empty space. The distance between a nucleus and its surrounding electrons proportionally vast and quiet and unoccupied. What feels solid, what feels warm and present, is mostly space, held in shape by forces operating far below any threshold of sensation. And yet here you are, particular and present, part of the same matter that has been gathering and resting and gathering again since long before this planet had a surface to rest on. The universe continues, slow and curved and patient. And you, here, are part of that continuation. It held when you were somewhere else entirely, moving through the noise and fullness of the day. It held before you were aware of it. Outside somewhere, dust is drifting toward dust. A cloud of early matter leaning almost imperceptibly toward its own center, taking its time in no hurry at all. The blanket is warm. The pull is gentle. The fabric of space curves very softly around everything resting inside it, around this room, around this breath, around the quiet weight of a body held by a planet, held by something older still leaning, still gathering, still holding, as it always has. With that, I'll leave you in the quiet embrace of the night. May your thoughts feel lighter and your rest arrive with ease. Until the next quiet, why?